This video is sponsored by Squarespace. We've got a smackdown going on here. The new 2021 iPad Pro is going head-to-head with Samsung's top-of-the-line Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. Let's see how these devices stack up. Hello, my name is Brad, and I review tech for creative professionals. And if you don't know a lot about Android tablets, you might be thinking, the iPad Pro is gonna stomp the Galaxy, but not so fast. Samsung has been pumping out some great hardware, and in many ways, this is a lot closer than many folks realize. Today we've got a tablet smackdown between Samsung's top-of-the-line Galaxy Tab S7 and the Apple 2021 iPad Pro. So let's start by taking a look at the displays. The iPad Pro comes in two sizes, 11 inches and 12.9 inches. Samsung's Galaxy Tab S7 also comes in two sizes, 11 inches and 12.4 inches. The larger Tab S7 Plus is almost the same exact width as the iPad Pro, but it's a different aspect ratio, making it a little bit narrower. The S7 Plus comes in at 2,800 pixels by 1,752 pixels, and the iPad Pro is 2,732 pixels by 2,048 pixels. Now, most of the difference between those numbers comes down to that aspect ratio again. This is where things get interesting. The Super AMOLED display on the S7 Plus might be my favorite tablet screen ever. The new Liquid Retina XDR display looks really good in many ways, just as good in fact, but it has one problem, and I mentioned this in my iPad Pro review. You get pixel dimming around the edges of the screen, giving it this inner shadow glow whenever you have any kind of bright colors on the screen. And some people have noticed a glow around really light spots on their iPad if they crank up the brightness in a really dark room. When I put these displays next to each other, they both look amazing. The colors leap off the screens. They look so good. But when they're sitting here next to each other, I can tell the Apple display goes brighter. The whites are definitely whiter. The blacks feel about the same to me. Black is black. So I feel from a technical standpoint, I should give this to Apple, but this is about what I care about most. I'm gonna shock the Apple fanboys here, and I'm gonna just say it. The Samsung display, it wins. I like it better. Let's go to round two. On the outside, these tablets look a lot alike. I mean, visually, we're talking about squared off edges and antenna lines along the back. Not to mention the brushed aluminum finish. On the inside, the iPad Pro has an M1 processor that everybody's been going gaga over, while the S7 Plus has a Snapdragon 865 chip. If you look at the benchmarks, this is one area where Apple's silicon is just flat out beating the world right now. Single core processing on the iPad Pro is coming in around 1,700. Multi-core processing is 7,300. On the Snapdragon, we have 934 for single core processing with 2,828 for the multi-core. Whew! What about RAM? The iPad Pro starts out at 8 gigabytes and you can go up to 16 gigabytes when you go with the models that have more storage. The Galaxy starts at 6 but goes up to 8 when you get more storage space. Now, storage is pretty similar with both of these starting at 128 gigabytes. The iPad Pro can go all the way up to 2 gigabytes of storage. The highest configuration for the Tab S7 maxes out at 512, but the Tab S7 Plus here has a micro SD card slot, so you could expand your storage further yourself for far less money. So when it comes to hardware, you have to give this one to Apple because of that M1 processor. What about the Apple Pencil versus the S Pen? Well, we're getting to that next, but first, I want to shout out to today's sponsor, Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Squarespace has the tools you need to get your business off the ground, including e-commerce templates, inventory management, a simple checkout process, and secure payments. Whatever you sell, Squarespace has the merchandising features that you need to make your products look their best online. All websites are optimized for mobile devices. Your content automatically adjusts so your site looks good anywhere. Grow and engage your audience with Squarespace's email campaigns. Create powerful email content that matches your website with your existing products, blog posts, and logo so your message is consistent and effective. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/BradColbo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Let's start with my favorite accessory of them all, the pen. These are both rechargeable. The iPad's recharges while along the side, and the S7's rests along the strip along the back. I personally prefer side charging, but really, it's not that big of a deal. Just means your Galaxy Tab doesn't sit flat when the pen is attached to it. The Galaxy Tab's pen does come packed in here, whereas the Apple Pencil costs an extra $130. One thing to note, the Apple Pencil just stops working when that battery dies, whereas the S Pen, it'll keep going on and on and on forever. Really what you need the battery for are some of the extra Bluetooth features, not specifically for drawing. There's motion gestures on the S Pen. For example, you can swipe through photos or pause videos or take a photo from your camera from a distance. I use those for the review and I haven't used any of those shortcuts since.
Another thing that is fun to look at is response time of the pen and how much lag you're going to find on the pen. In general, I have to slow down the camera in order to see any kind of lag at all, which is a way of saying it's really good here. Both of these are going to run circles around a drawing tablet that attaches to a Mac or PC computer. I also find pen lag varies dramatically from app to app. For example, Clip Studio, it's pretty good here. You go to something like Procreate on the iPad and it is really well done. On Samsung, the best optimized app as far as the response time of the pen goes is the Notes app. Not something you want to draw in, but it shows that the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus does have a really good response time.
The other accessories I want to talk about are the keyboard cases. I really like Apple's Magic Keyboard. It costs a lot though, $300 or $350 depending on the size you get. And in a lot of ways I feel like the Magic Keyboard it's very nice, but it's kind of overkill. If Samsung could just provide a cheaper alternative, I might tilt this one in their favor. But they don't. The trackpad on this thing is the worst I have ever used on any device ever, period. The arrow that appears when you're using it probably looks good on a small phone, but here it looks huge. It's hard to click on it, and also the case itself, it's not magnetically attached very well. It wiggles around a lot. Anyway, I could go on and on about the case. Was not a fan. So this category goes to Apple. The drawing experience on both of these is pretty good. In fact, it's better than pretty good. On the iPad, it's great. Now on the Tab S7, it's up there as well. I've gotten to the point where I really prefer drawing on tablets like this than I do to desktops. Being able to zoom in and out smoothly by pinching or tapping the screen to undo or mapping gestures to things that you're doing commonly, like picking colors or that sort of thing. I love that. Just using a tablet for that is so convenient. When I go to desktop apps, I miss all of that. Both of these pens are very accurate. Both have great pressure sensitivity. Both are fantastic drawing experiences, but where the Apple Pencil edges out the Wacom-powered stylus on the S7 is in palm rejection. Whenever I draw on this device, I'm always left with a lot of little lines and dots where my palm was on the screen. Now, one caveat to this experience varies from app to app. For example, this has never been a problem for me as much in Clip Studio. I mean, it happens, but not nearly as much. It's amazing how this small improvement dramatically improves the user experience for the entire device. Some apps will allow you to toggle off hand gestures on the canvas so that doesn't happen. A lot of people like doing that. I've noticed in some apps it doesn't always turn out great. For example, it takes me longer to zoom in and out. It just doesn't always pick up the little gestures I'm doing, like the undo and things like that. So it's a trade-off. This is something that the Apple Pencil really nailed from day one. The S Pen also has a very tiny, small rubber tip, and it gives you some drawing resistance when you're drawing on a smooth glass screen. The Apple Pencil, on the other hand, has a very hard tip. That's why I end up using screen protectors whenever I'm drawing on an iPad, because it just gives me a better feel and the pencil isn't sliding around as much. So with all that said, who wins? This one's going to go down to the Apple Pencil. The S Pen is no slouch, but the pencil really edges it out here. Software. This is where things have changed the most over the past year. In the past, I would get an Android tablet, and honestly, I'd just get frustrated, mainly by the drawing apps. These were never big problems, just little frustrations that built up over time. I would get into the flow of an app and it would crash, or I was tired of cleaning up my lines that my palm was leaving behind. Maybe I just couldn't find that brush that I was looking for, and there wasn't a big ecosystem of user-made brushes that I could download. And oftentimes it was dumb things, like it was hard to open the color picker, or you'd pick your color and you'd start drawing and the color picker was still open so it wouldn't draw on the thing. every app seems to have one or two little things that would just drive me nuts. So what's changed? Well, over the last year, one, the software stability has improved. Maybe it's because the hardware's better, I'm not sure, but Infinite Painter, Artflow, really improved. Also, we're seeing other apps start to pop up on there that are much more powerful, like some of the things we've seen on the iPad. Krita, it's on Android now. That is a thing, and it's still pretty buggy. It's definitely still in beta, but there's a lot of promise there. The game changer for me has been Clip Studio Paint running on Android. Initially, it only worked on Samsung devices. Now it'll work on any Android device. This program started out as a desktop app back in the day. I used to use it all the time. I really like it better on the tablet. It goes back to some of the things I talked about earlier, just being able to pinch and zoom and tap to undo. It's just so nice. And it's way better than using it on the desktop. So, head to head, what's our verdict here? I still think the iPad ecosystem is the better software ecosystem. Procreate, Affinity Photo, Designer. On the flip side, even though I am giving this category to the iPad, I still feel that Android has come so far, and every year it's cool to see how much it improves, and it's cool to see Samsung themselves investing in the Android ecosystem to make it better. The smaller iPad Pro starts at $799, and the S7 starts at $649. We have $1,099 and $849 for the larger sizes. It's pretty common for Samsung products to drop in price faster than Apple products. In fact, that's pretty much guaranteed to happen. That's the case now. The S7 Plus has been out longer, and I found it on Amazon for about $80 under its initial price listing. Also, keep in mind, the S Pen comes packed in with the S7, whereas the Apple Pencil is $130 extra, so that's a pretty big hidden cost. If the price of either one of these devices is just too much for you, you have options. You know how I just mentioned how Samsung lowers their prices over time? The Tab S6 Lite is currently going for $280. That is a steal. It's not as big as the S7 Plus. It's not as powerful as the S7 Plus, but it's a really solid tablet. At that price, it's kind of amazing. If you're looking at iPads, you could always take a step back, get an older refurbished iPad Pro. The other option is you could look at some of the other iPads. The iPad Air is a very good option, and even the lowest end iPads now have pencil support, are fairly inexpensive, and the quality is just really good. The verdict is Samsung. It's just, obviously it's the cheaper price, but I think it's a fantastic value for the price that it's at. So what is my verdict? For most artists and illustrators, I still think that the best choice is the iPad. So that's going to be the winner. You're going to love Procreate. If you want Clip Studio, it's there. Adobe is slowly, very slowly, bringing their apps over and some of that functionality. So last fall, I went all in on the Tab S7 Plus, and I used it as my daily driver, and that was a big deal for me. It lasted about 2 months until I got the iPad Air. Ultimately, the iPad apps, specifically Procreate, are what pulled me back in. But what I learned in that time was that Android tablets are ready for prime time. Finally. I think for me, it was Clip Studio that really turned the tide. I now have a drawing app I can use and absolutely love, and I really enjoyed spending more time on Android in the past year than I ever have at any other point before. So what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.